All right, let's get right into it. There is a huge economic story playing out South America right now. I mean, this is the kind of thing that could totally reshape the global tech and energy supply chains for decades. And it's all about Brazil's incredible and almost completely untouched potential.
So just picture this for a minute. What if one single country was just sitting on a massive treasure trove? The very elements that power, well, literally everything, from the smartphone in your pocket to the entire world's green energy transition.
Yeah, we are talking about 23%, almost a quarter of the entire planet's known reserves of rare earth elements. And that country is Brazil. I mean, that is an absolutely mind-boggling number.
But, and this is the crazy part, this is the whole point of what we're digging into today, despite holding all that wealth under their feet, Brazil's actual output is almost nothing. It's tiny. And this giant gap, this chasm between potential and reality, well, that's the billion-dollar paradox we're going to unpack.
Okay, so to really get why this is such a massive deal, we first have to talk about why these materials are so unbelievably critical to, well, everyone.
All right, first things first. That name, rare earths, it's actually kind of misleading. See, there are 17 of these elements, and they're not really rare in the Earth's crust. The rare part is because it's so incredibly difficult and complicated to find them in concentrations that are actually worth mining, and then even harder to separate them into usable forms. But it's their unique properties, their magnetic and electronic magic, that makes them totally irreplaceable. And when I say irreplaceable, I am not kidding. You know, these are the secret ingredients that make our modern world tick. Those super powerful, super lightweight magnets in electric car motors, that's neodymium. The brilliant, vibrant colors on your phone screen, that's thanks to europium and terbium. The guidance systems in next-gen defense tech, the massive generators and wind turbines, it's all powered by rare earths.
So when you look at who's actually producing this stuff right now, the global market, one thing just jumps right out at you. A single country, China, controls almost 70% of all production. And that's just the raw stuff. When you look at the really critical step, the processing and refining, their share is even higher. It's a near monopoly.
And you can probably guess what that means, right? When you're that reliant on one single source, it creates a massive vulnerability for the rest of the world. It's why there's this urgent global race kicking off. Countries, companies, everyone is scrambling to find and develop new, stable, reliable sources for these absolutely critical materials.
And that global race, well, it leads us right back to our sleeping giant. Brazil is perfectly positioned to be a huge piece of the puzzle, a major part of the solution to this whole dependency problem.
And this right here, this is the paradox laid out in black and white. Brazil is sitting on 23% of the world's reserves, you know, not that far behind China's 36%. But when you look at production, China is cranking out 69%, while Brazil is at a tiny, tiny 1%. It's like owning one of the world's biggest oil fields, but only pumping out a couple of barrels a day. The potential is just sitting there.
So what's the prize? What happens if they can actually solve this paradox? Well, the estimates are just staggering. If Brazil can get its rare earth industry up and running, it could add up to 243 billion Brazilian reais. That's about 48 billion US dollars to its GDP. And that's not a one-time thing. That's annually. I mean, that is a completely game-changing amount of money.
But, and this is a big but, it's not as simple as just digging dirt out of the ground. No way. To unlock that kind of money, Brazil needs to climb the entire value ladder. And this is where the real money is.
Think about it like this, like a ladder with a few rungs. The very first step, the bottom rung, is just the mining. You're just pulling raw, mixed-up ore out of the earth. That's your base value. The real magic and the real profit happens on the next couple of steps. Processing that concentrate into individual, super pure elements, and then using those elements to manufacture high-tech stuff like permanent magnets. And that jump from the raw stuff on the bottom rung to the separated, purified elements, that is not a small step. It can multiply the material's value by up to 20 times. Right now, Brazil is basically stuck on that first rung. They're exporting low-value dirt and just leaving that massive 20x multiplier on the table for somebody else to grab.
But Brazil has a secret weapon, a trump card for climbing that ladder, and it's all about their energy grid. Because their electricity is so dominated by renewables, like hydro, their manufacturing has a way lower carbon footprint. And in a world that's getting more and more focused on ESG, that's environmental, social, and governance stuff, this green production model is a huge competitive advantage.
Okay, so obviously this isn't going to be some walk in the park. There are some serious hurdles to get over. But, and this is really important, there's also a powerful push from the Brazilian government to clear the path and make this happen.
And the challenges? They're pretty steep. For one, there's a huge technology gap. China's got something like a 30-year head start. And historically, getting a license to mine could take, believe it or not, up to 16 years. But you're seeing the government push back, and push back hard. They've got a new multi-billion reais fund, special decrees to fast-track permits, and tax incentives. They are sending a really clear signal that the old, slow way of doing things is over.
So with all that in mind, what's the actual plan? How does Brazil turn all this buried potential into actual profit and global influence? Well, the blueprint is actually pretty clear.
So this blueprint for success, it really ties everything we've talked about together. First, stop just focusing on mining. You got to climb that value ladder into processing. Then, form smart partnerships to get the technology you need to close that gap. You have to market the heck out of your ESG advantage, that low-carbon supply chain. It also means prioritizing the cleaner, lower-impact ionic clay deposits, and maybe even getting ahead of the game by investing in the new recycling industry. It's a really comprehensive, smart plan.
You know, when you step back, all the pieces are there. You've got the immense reserves underground, the skyrocketing global demand, a clear government push, and that unique green energy advantage. The challenges are real, for sure, but the potential reward, it's absolutely transformative. So the big question now, the multi-billion-dollar question, is can Brazil actually put all these pieces together? Can it climb that ladder from just being a resource holder to becoming a true global tech superpower?